Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll talk to a pastor from Houston who got another calling, and that's why he's running for Congress. His story is just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, God sometimes puts people together for different reasons, and I met my next guest at a networking group. It was a Christian networking group, and he comes in, big smile, and says, "I'm Dr. Johnny. What's your name?" And we became friends, and he's on my show today. Dr. Johnny Teague, thanks for coming on the show.
Honored to be with you, Brother Jeff. Thank you so much.
Well, you have such a unique journey because you're a pastor and you're also running for Congress.
Yes, sir.
So we want to get into your childhood in a second, but you don't hear about a lot of pastors running for office.
You don't. There's been this misconception, separation of church and state, that pastors are to not be involved in government or politics. I spoke at the University of Houston the other day, and I talked about our faith, and I talked about the foundation of our country. And after I spoke, a University of Houston student walked up and said, "You have opened my eyes." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I never knew a person of faith could be involved in government." And I go, "Why do you think that?" He goes, "Because I didn't think it was legal." And that is the thing we must overcome.
And you said maybe a century ago, it was more common.
Much more common. In fact, 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, 13 were seminary trained.
See, there you go.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We've moved so far from our grounding.
Well, we're going to do a version of This Is Your Life, like that old TV show.
Okay.
We're going to put some video up on the screen here. Why don't you kind of talk about your childhood?
Well, I was born in Glen Rose, Texas. My dad was a rancher. We were raised in a farmhouse that was leased to the ranchers. And then my dad and mom moved us to a house in Glen Rose, Texas when I was about 2 or 3. And then when I turned age 6, we moved back out into the country. My dad got his own place. We raised cows. We raised pigs. We grew our own vegetables, had our own fruit trees. That was my calf Jasper, first place at the Glen Rose Rodeo and State Fair. And raised a lamb once that my uncle's son gave me. And loved it, but I really always loved the cattle. Loved football, and that's my brother Tracy. And we always enjoyed Christmas Magical. That's me graduating from Tarleton State University, where I got 2 degrees. And I also played quarterback there. I played quarterback in Glen Rose. That's my grandmother there to my right. She told me one day you'll be president of the United States. And I never really thought she would be anywhere close, but heck, now I'm running for Congress, so maybe she's a prophet and I didn't know it.
Well, and you have a unique congressional district. This is the 7th congressional district.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about the district.
7th Congressional District runs from downtown Houston, Main Street. It runs through some very nice neighborhoods like West University, Bel Air. It goes up Hillcroft, and then it runs into the Galleria. It runs down the Energy Corridor all the way out Beltway 8 to Highway 6, and then it covers Richmond and Sugar Land. When you look at geographic area, it's really a small area, but it's one of the most condensed, filled up district of all of Houston area.
Wow. You put together a wonderful video that I want to just go ahead and roll right now.
Okay.
Salute the flag and say I love this land, from sea to shining sea. I love this land, home of the brave and free. I love the liberty, the justice, and the truth on which we stand. One nation under God. I love this land. country, in big cities, little towns, while mama's getting ready, dad pulls the car around. They join the congregation to sing Amazing Grace. They're free to worship Jesus, and they are free to pray. I love this land.
Well, you have had such a blessed life. I gotta ask you, because it seems like there is no more rough and tumble world than politics.
Right.
What's a nice guy like you doing in a congressional race?
Man, I tell you what, I played quarterback. I know what it's like to be cheered and booed. Then I refereed for 4 years after I had some head injuries and semi-pro, and thought, man, I need to quit playing. And I tell you what, being a referee in football really prepared me to run for office, because you are hated no matter what you do on the field. And in this thing called politics and running for Congress, the criticism, the ugliness, you really find out where people are pretty quick. And it is a high-charged field that I'm running in right now. But you know what? God penetrates every part of society, and there's no place where he ought to be omitted. And where there's ugliness, I believe we can bring love. And when there's criticism, I believe we can bring encouragement.
Well, I want to tell people what you stand for, and we also have some pictures of you out on the campaign trail. I'd be curious to hear what people are asking you.
People are constantly asking, really, they're concerned about the border. They're real concerned about our budget and where we are. I think more than anything, though, the biggest thing I'm finding is people are afraid that government has completely left them, that we have become servants of the government who have no say in what happens. And I really believe it's that we're starting to see this uprising like we saw in 1994 and 2010, where people just want to take back the government that was created for them.
Yeah, and you represent a district with a lot of just common people. Just
yes, sir.
The working man and working woman.
Exactly.
I encourage my audience to follow Dr. Johnny on social media, because he puts out these wonderful videos. Here's one of them.
They say that voters really only care about kitchen table issues. I've invited you into our home. This is our kitchen table. This is where my wife pays our bills with this checkbook. Yes, we still write checks. If you'll notice, on our kitchen table, it's a little crowded. Got a lot of paper towels, a lot of toilet paper, a lot of Gatorade, a lot of Fritos. Why is that? Because recently our store shelves have been empty. And my wife has had to scour many stores to get the things that we love or that we need. And the result, when she finds it, she stocks up. This isn't capitalism. It's socialism. When you see scarcities in the store, that is a result of socialism. Government getting involved in the economy. When government pays people to stay home, when government tries to regulate everything, then there's no incentive to produce. People stay home, draw a paycheck, goods aren't produced, prices go up, businesses try to produce more, they have to pay more to get people to come work for them, prices continue to increase, that's inflation. In the same way, oil and gas, our price at the gas pump, kitchen table issue, is much higher today. Why? Not because of an oil and gas problem, but because of government. When government cuts production, cuts the pipelines in the irrational approach to climate change, all of a sudden you find a president calling OPEC to produce oil and gas because we no longer do it. We have got to get back to the free market system where businesses hire employees and employees produce goods, and you and I are able to buy those goods, and there's plenty of them. I'm Dr. Johnny Teague, and I'm running to be your congressman. I believe we take our hands off the economy and everybody flourishes. That's what made our country great, and that's what will restore our country again. If you agree with me, check Johnny Teague for Congress.
And I think you made that video at least 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's gotten worse. I mean, the high price of fuel, I think the average American is probably working harder, sometimes 2 jobs to make ends meet, and there's more a month at the end of the money.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's the thing that every neighbor of ours is dealing with. They can't afford the gas prices. Gas prices are shooting up. Meat is off the chain expensive. I'm thankful we raise cattle. We have our own. But it is crazy how everything is just skyrocketed. And you're right. No matter how much they raise minimum wage, and people got raises over the COVID time and trying to get people back, and they thought they'd be doing better. But when you look at the prices, they far outweighed and out increase what we're getting with our pay. And so we're in a place now where people are hurting greatly.
Yeah, and I know you're a fan of less government instead of more government. And
Yes, sir.
It seems like when we pay our taxes, we want our Congress people to be good stewards of the money, but sometimes it feels like they don't care. They care more about getting reelected.
They do, and it kind of works twofold. One is they do all these little earmarks to try to please the constituents to give them money. But really what they're doing is they're building this dependency upon the government. And by having that dependency, well, we've got to vote for him or we won't be able to keep getting this money in. And we saw that when they were giving that child care monthly amount for people with kids. And they told the people, hey, this is going to be temporary. But I don't really believe that the legislators plan on it being temporary. I know for sure the people didn't want it to be temporary. Once it started coming in, you start budgeting off what comes in. And again, it's a way to build government, to build dependency. And so we've got to get away from that. We've got to get back to self-responsibility. There's a great joy and a pride when we do things for ourselves. And there's a self-esteem that comes with it. And we're losing that. It's like me and your great friend in there. We're talking about how when the hurricane hit New Orleans, everybody was asking, what are you going to do for us to get us out of this? When the hurricane hit Houston, no one asked for anything. We're going to do it on our own. And we've taken great joy in that. And we've got to get back to that.
Absolutely. We only have a little time left. So go ahead and look at the viewer and tell the viewer why you would make a difference if you were in Congress.
Well, I believe the biggest difference between me and anyone running really is conviction. I am convicted that this nation is to be exceptional. It was created with exceptionalism. It was created with the foundation and a belief that there's a God in heaven who's given us a pattern to live, that if we follow that pattern, we'll be blessed and life will go well for us. Our founders believed that. They actually built that into our Constitution and the Declaration of Independence for sure. And our nation has far surpassed any nation in the history of this earth. But now we're falling back because we have walked away from God. We still have them on our coins or our pledges, but we don't have them in our lives anymore, in our public life, in our private businesses. We've left away the ethic of how we're to treat each other. And so I just think we get back to common sense. We get back to doing what we ought to do. I tell people all the time, what is my stand? Love God, care for each other, and do right. If we follow those 3 premises, everything works out great. So I'm honored to be with you today. I'm honored y'all would listen to me. And I'm Johnny Teague running for Congress, www.johnnyteague.com. And I'm always here to help. Anything I can do, give me guidance. I'm not the perfect guy, but I'm always learning.
Love it. This has been an honor having you in the studio, and
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
glad you got that second call in. We're going to end with the website, as he said, johnnyteague.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.